next 35. The date's Wednesday, September 10, 2025. It looks like Commissioner Jim Franklin is absent. It looks like Commissioner Buzz Artiano is absent. Commissioner Dot McFarland is here online. Everyone else is here. I'll take a roll call. It's Kalina is here. Megan? Here. Marilyn?
Yes.
And Brian?
Yes.
Thank you. Please note we're doing a hybrid meeting that's with both in-person and virtual attendance. So if a member of the virtual public would like to make comments during a public hearing, please use the raise hand function on Zoom and you'll be assigned a speaking time. If you're listening in via telephone dial-in, press star 9, raise your hand, and then press star 6 to unmute yourself. This meeting's being recorded by the local scene. Is it? Yes, thank you very much. And a record of this meeting will be posted on the local scene website as soon as they're able. Anyone intending to make an audio or video recording of this meeting should notify me at this time. Anyone? All right, great. First matter is signing documents. They're working their way down the row. Matt?
That was the enforcement orders for 164 Pembroke Street and 176 Main Street as voted at the last meeting.
Yep. Ready to move on to action?
Sure.
I'm going to open a public meeting to discuss the request for determination of applicability for 28 Roberth Road. This was submitted by Steinbeck and Taylor on behalf of property owner Frank Dirico. Do you have any comments?
That's all right.
Do you have any comments?
Brian
Want to make
Taylor.
them on the record? Yeah.
Sure.
Are you on?
Okay. Would you like me to just start presenting?
Yeah, just go ahead.
Oh, okay, great. Brian Taylor from Stenbeck and Taylor. And Brad Holmes is also here. We've both been working on the project. So I'm sure the board recalls our previous discussions early in the year on Rabeth Road. So what we've done is we've put together a plan to remove hazard trees. And they vary from, and we labeled the types of hazards that are, the trees tend to present on the plan, as well as we have invasives, one of which is kudzu, which Brad has vegetation removal plan for all of the invasives, particularly the kudzu, which I have never seen, honestly, after 50 years in the woods. But the proposal is to, initially submitted was to remove all hazard trees, including some that were somewhat proximate to the brook that's on the site, Smelt Brook. Matt and I had done a walk on the site and agreed that it would make sense to try to minimize the tree removal in that area. So we did make a revision on the plan. Some of the trees that had previously been proposed to be removed and were flagged in site, we took the flags down and we took those off the plan. So the plan submittal shows the physical location of all the work to be done. And Brad had prepared 2 reports, a restoration monitoring report for the previously approved restoration planting that we had done, and a vegetation management proposal for the newly discovered invasives on the property. And then subsequent to the initial submittal, Brad revised that once we realized we had a kudzu situation, which Matt brought to our attention. Also, after Matt and I had walked the property last week, I engaged Dave Harrington, who's an arborist. He had actually walked the whole property before in the last series of permitting. And Dave wrote a summary letter addressing the various types of damage to the trees. And we forwarded that to Matt, albeit that was just recently submitted to Matt, so I'm sure he's been so busy, he probably hasn't had time to review it. So.
Right. Have you had a chance to look at that?
I did have a chance to look at the arborist letter. It was because it was pretty short. It's about a paragraph. It just says that he found many trees that were a hazard to the public. Found a girdling root on one of the split maples. I also found included bark, which will eventually cause the tree to split in half. I found larger pines with lightning strikes along the shoreline of the pond. I examined one of the larger mature pines with a huge crown close to utility pole and determined it will eventually split in the wind and cause a problem. Many trees are split or had rotten trunks. There were several dead trees along the brook that should be removed. There were several leaning and dead trees on the rear driveway that need removal, which are marked. It is my opinion these trees should be removed as they are a hazard to human safety as well as potential for dwelling damage. Yeah, I walked the site with Brian, and I'll share my screen so you can see. I believe they did submit a update to this plan today, but I haven't saved it or don't have it available for right now. But I have the plan that was previously submitted that shows several trees over here by the shoreline of the pond. There's this dwelling at 30, and this is a thing about this filing, it's not just 28 Rabbith Road, it's 28 and 30 under the same ownership. So most of what we're talking about is in the vicinity of 30 Rabbith Road. And Smelt Brook comes off of Smelt Pond right here and runs down this way. And this was the area of the enforcement action last year from the clearing of trees and grading and lawn installation. So all the trees in red here, what were shown to be removed, and the edge of the, I think it's the purple line here, is the inland bank of Smelt Brook. And it's only, I mean, a lot of these trees are only a couple feet away from the edge of the brook. So that was part of my discussion with Brian. Was when we first talked about this project, I said if there are some obvious hazard trees, there's admin review and we can take care of things that way. If it's not obvious, then you probably want to go with an RDA. And there were some other things that he kind of wanted to do anyways, so they're after to do an RDA filing. But I kind of voiced while we were walking, they have that 2-track road that comes down this way, the driveway that accesses the property off of Rabbith Road. And, obviously a lot of the trees are of a distance that if they fall across that, it would have to be removed. And if you had cars parked all the way down the driveway, then you could have some, serious issues with loss of property or life. But I said any type of filing like this will be scrutinized more being that close to, a perennial stream. And that's where I gave some feedback on some of that and talking about some of the maples where some of the maples don't seem particularly hazardous, period. But if you were gonna cut them down, just let them grow back. They're all gonna sucker from the crown and try to grow back into a tree, and they're not gonna be hazardous again for another, 50 or 100 years. The pines are definitely troublesome. They snap in half. They have a lot of issues that you sometimes don't see until it's too late, and a lot of the pines there did have issues. There was one pretty large white oak right by the dwelling here that I questioned whether that needed to be cut down or whether that could be pruned to protect the dwelling. So there were just some things like that. There were some trees over here that I questioned. There were some things that I thought these aren't necessarily hazardous. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can't remove them or that you can't permit the removing of them for protection of property. Bigger issue that I had here was when I went back looking at the imagery from the enforcement issue, where this whole area here, and I had kind of questioned it when I was on site with Brian last week, but I wanted to get back and look through the files before speaking to it. But basically this whole area here was all forested and in a natural condition up until the issue that resulted in enforcement action. It was all cleared and made into a lawn. Well, this whole area was seeded as part of the restoration plan, and then it was mowed. And I remember being on site with Brian and him saying, yeah, somebody came and mowed it, something along the lines of like, that won't happen again. Mm-hmm. And then we somehow kind of split off of that. And, we issued a letter last, I believe, fall or early winter saying, hey, you're all set, the enforcement's done, you've done everything you needed to do. But I think the understanding was that was gonna grow back in and that was gonna be, essentially a part of the restoration site. There were no conservation posts proposed there, but there was also no filing that turned that from a natural part of the riverfront area of a perennial stream to what's essentially now a lawn. So I think that's problematic, I think, for starters, because it basically now seems like this property just got, I don't want to say developed, because it was already, there was a building there, and there was an access road to the building. But beyond that, everything was forest. Everything was natural, as far as 30 Rabbit Road is concerned. So I don't know if anything that you sent recently dealt with that, but that was pretty concerning to me.
No, I did mention it to the client. I said, we gotta wrangle this in, and this is not their year-round home. So I said, yeah, that's not kind of what I expected either when we got out of the truck. So and we put as part of the original plan, we had put the conservation posts at the bottom, but I was thinking the same thing as you, put them at the top, like no mowing, you know, in multiple languages, no mowing.
Yeah, I think, conservation posts were required, and they're pretty close to the edge of the brook because the driveway is there, and the driveway's been there for a long time, so commission didn't really have the ability to put them any further landward than that. But something was missing with this process where, it was seeded with a restoration mix, and then it was mowed down, and it was kept mowed down, everything landward of the two-track road, and it essentially just makes one big lawn area between the two properties. And that's not been permitted, and I don't know that would have been permitted. I mean, the two-track road's already there, but that doesn't mean that the rest of the riverfront area there is not meaningful and, protecting of the brook there, so.
There was like a vehicle and boat storage that we showed in some of the old photographs in this area out behind, you can't, the smaller house. But, that's, like you say, it was all canopy pines and.
Yeah. So, I can run through kind of everything I have here, but I think the invasive species work is easy, so it's more in front of. So this whole area here is all a landscaped hill that goes down from 28 Rabbit Road to the pond, and it's now covered in saplings of, they call it Tree of Heaven. It's one of the invasive trees from Asia, and it's. When I was on site on one, I think it was this tree here, or the multiple trees here, this was all covered in kudzu. Kudzu is, they call it the plant that ate the South. It's not a species that's yet well established in Massachusetts. There was only one other infestation in Massachusetts that DCR has been managing, and they think they finally got it eradicated, and then I emailed them and let them know that this is there, and so I got their feedback, and their feedback was they need to remove that before it goes to seed. So we definitely want them to move on getting rid of the kudzu now. They're gonna need to bag it. They said you're gonna have to put everything into bags. It needs to be solarized. It can't be just brought to a landfill where it can reroot. Chances are all of this came in from fill being brought in after these trees were cleared and things were graded. I have to imagine they must have brought loam in for the new grass, and it just
The weird
seems.
thing is I can't figure out how it got down there. It's like
Yeah, I
such a
mean,
concentration.
the interesting thing is it's not popping up through the rest of that area, but
Yeah,
then the
it's
rest of
weird.
that area has been managed.
Created.
So it's just, there's no other infestations of this in the area. So it
Wow.
seems most likely that it came in on something there. So I think we want that done. I would have no issue with issuing a negative DOA to get on the treatment of the invasives with conditions on the kudzu as I stated. The rest of the tree work, I wouldn't feel comfortable issuing a permit on that with a pretty large area of unpermitted work still not wrapped up yet. So my thought on this before kind of going through all the rest of what I have on this is that I think they should be modifying this DOA to include either whatever that area needs to be maintained as a restoration area, or coming forward with a filing that converts all or some of it into a landscaped area. So I can keep going through everything I have if that's what you want to do, but I thought the best, cleanest thing for me would be that part needs to be dealt with, and why not deal with it now during this process, rather than we can reopen the enforcement issue, but if they can deal with it now, throw some conservation posts on and overseed with, it's a good time of year to put down a conservation mix.
Yeah.
Reestablish that area as a natural area, or come forward with something else. And that's sort of what I had said before when we did the restoration, is it showed a lot of stuff on there that I said, there's a difference between
Right.
landscape plantings and restoration plantings. So all we're doing through the enforcement is restoration. If you want to plant apple trees or anything else, you're going to have to, file for that.
Right.
So something got a little lost in translation there, and I think it should be dealt with now before going forward and permitting more, tree removal on the site without having that area dealt with.
That's reasonable.
Any questions?
So are you saying split out a -3 and have the condition regarding the invasive treatment, and then do something separate for that restoration? Thanks.
Sorry, your mic was off.
Sorry. I said, are you suggesting just doing the -3 in regards to the invasive, and then do a separate action for the restoration?
That was what I was thinking, and that could either be, I'd have to double check with council to make sure it was even legal to split that out on its own without issuing a positive, and I'm not stating that we should be issuing a positive right now on the trees, because I don't know that we have the justification laid out for that yet. So I'm not 100% positive on that. They're gonna need to get started on the invasives work. Honestly, if somebody was to go there and start bagging up all the kudzu, I don't know that you need a permit for that. Once you start disturbing the ground, everything like that, then I think, we may get by with not having to issue anything right now, and me verbally email or just sending an email out that states that start bagging the kudzu up, get it so that it can't go to seed and spread around to every other property there on that pond. And then let them come back with the rest of the filing showing whatever is gonna happen there. I think that's.
Should we do the same thing with the tree of heaven? That's really crazy how that's taken off. That's in all previously landscaped areas.
There's no fear of the tree of heaven going to seed right now. If you cut the tree of heaven right now, you're probably and Brad can probably speak to this, if you cut the tree of heaven right now without putting chemical down on it, then you're probably risking the chemical application being less successful. I mean, you might be able to cut them like halfway down and then cut them the rest of the way down before you apply the chemical once you have your permit. But applying chemical without a permit in that area is I don't think that's allowed. And I know he wants that stuff gone. I think the homeowner gets like a reaction from it every, walking past having the leaves brush against you. But I'm pretty positive you can go out there and get rid of the kudzu in terms of cutting it back, closer to the ground so that it doesn't go to seed, and still be able to make a lower cut on those vines and treat it before winter. And if they can come back quickly enough with whatever this stuff is, we may only be delaying this by 2 weeks. It's just in 2 weeks that kudzu can go to seed
Right.
and start to drop off into the pond, and birds can start carrying stuff away, and it's flowering right now, but I don't know how long it takes. So speed is definitely beneficial in that one.
It's the same thing with the mugwort too, isn't it? That's going to seed now too.
Everything, it kind of.
Everything's-
Season, right.
With the mugwort is kind of, we saw that it was intermittent. There was that one concentration up at the top of the hill,
Yeah.
but the rest of it was just intermittent. Maybe we could try to get that before it gets ahead of us, spreads more.
What's the plan for the mugwort? Was it pulling?
Yeah, well,
I could, still have erosion control up,
Yeah.
I could okay hand pulling of mugwort in that as well, if that will help.
In a lot of the areas, that's where we burlap that whole slope. It came in unbelievable. That burlap is fantastic. So that mugwort is started right at the top of that burlap area, so pulling, there'll be no erosion.
That's, I think, the way that I would prefer to see something like this handled, is a continuance to let them come back with a filing that deals with a large portion of the property that was not properly dealt with during enforcement.
Could we do that under this, instead of having redundant filings, just do it under the restoration program, modify our restoration program to include that? Because Brad had done, part of this report was,
I think you're asking for more detail, to continue the RDA, provide more detail on the maintenance of the mode restoration.
Yeah,
Right.
so essentially,
Just splitting it up.
looking for a continuance to have you come back with a
Under the
different
same-
version of the same filing.
okay, good,
Where you're showing on the plan
yep,
the cleared, the area that was cleared without a permit,
right,
that was seeded with restoration mix,
Right.
that's been mowed ever since.
right.
Because all of that area, as far as,
Right,
regulations are concerned, should be growing back as natural buffer to the stream and the pond, and it hasn't. So you can come back with that entire area
sure, yep,
shown as conservation posts and with a game plan, overseed with the mix, and here's how it will be maintained over time.
good, good.
Or you can come back with some form of a developed landscape plan under an RDA for some version of that area as
Okay.
well.
Okay,
That's up to you.
okay,
It is still, a lot of it is within the 100-foot to Smelt Brook, so there should be limitations on that. So everything that you propose would have to meet those standards, and it's not the same as
okay.
doing this stuff in a pre-developed lawn area. That's an area that legally speaking is still, buffer zone forest, a riverfront area, forested riverfront area before this was done. And we don't have anything that I could see that shows that, underneath that was maintained lawn area or yard area. It all looked like it was pretty intact, so. Does that make sense?
Yep, yes, sir.
How much time do you think you would need to?
2 weeks, does that work for you? Yeah,
Yeah.
good. I think we want to take advantage of the weather.
Could you get it to me within a week so that we would have time to review?
That work,
Yeah,
yeah?
I'll work with you on that one.
Awesome, great.
That's good.
All right, then I think we'd be continuing this to the 24th, and I will send an email on the invasive stuff tomorrow.
Do I hear a motion to continue this matter to the
I'll make
25th?
that motion to continue to September 24th.
And do I have a second?
A second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to continue this matter to September 24th, requiring the incomplete restoration be addressed. Dot, are you there online?
Yes,
How do you vote?
yes,
Megan? Yes. Colleen is a yes. Marilyn?
Yes.
And Brian?
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'd like to open a public meeting now to discuss the request for,
We should skip to
you want to skip to what?
hearings.
Oh, yeah. Wait, all right. Time does fly when you're having a blast.
Good night.
Good night, thank you so much. We're going to move right along to public hearings
Public hearings.
under Section A. This is 20, related to 20 Marion Drive, also known as 1 Royson Drive. This is a request for amendment for the proposed installation of a sediment forebay and rain garden within the 200-foot riverfront area of Smelt Brook. I reopen this hearing for the request for amendment. for the proposed installation of a sediment forebay and rain garden within the 200-foot riverfront area of Smelt Brook. Do you have anything to say, Matt?
Yes, this has been out for peer review for a long time. A couple months ago, I reported that the peer review consultant said they did not have the calculations for the sizing of the bioretention area or rain garden, and that they would need more money for that, and they need the calculations. And the commission voted to have that work done. We did receive a check pretty quickly, but it took months to get the calculations on that sizing. So I did receive that, I want to say maybe a week ago, and I forwarded that to Horsley Witten Group, who's doing the peer review, and I asked how long they thought it would take to get that stuff back to us. She indicated that she thought they could have it to us in time for review before the September 24th meeting, but for the sake of not having to continue and rush anything, I think it's best to continue that to the first meeting in October, which I think is October 8th.
Chair looking for a motion to continue this matter to 8th of October.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Dot?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Felina's a yes. Marilyn?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
That motion carries. We'll talk about this on October 8th. Thank you. And under Section B, this is 49 Old Mill Road. This is no NOI, a notice of intent. This is for an addition and porch along the rear of the existing home within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland and the 200-foot riverfront area of an intermittent stream. So I reopen this hearing for the proposed construction of an addition and porch along the rear of the home, now including septic system upgrades and driveway improvements within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland and the 200-foot riverfront area of an intermittent stream at 49 Old Mill Road. What have you got to say, Matt?
We may have a presentation on it first, since there's new information.
All right, let's hear from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, members of the commission. Brad Holmes from ECR. We continued this project so that we could provide some more detail on the addition that was listed on the architectural plan as an in-law addition that may be termed an ADU, whatever we call it. It's an addition at the back of the house. With that brought the need for a septic system upgrade. The design engineers from Grady Consulting did this work to upgrade the septic system. The application has been filed with the Board of Health. I believe they're waiting for the Conservation Commission to review it before they'll make a decision. But with the addition to the project, since I presented it previously, is that the existing tank will be removed and replaced with a new tank. The leach field is proposed within the driveway area. The existing driveway is proposed to be removed so that that work can be performed. And after the installation of the leach field and the piping associated with the tank, the driveway will be replaced in its existing footprint. There will be no enlargement of the driveway. I've talked with the design engineers, and they have talked to the building inspector, and that driveway is more than enough space to handle the required number of parking spaces, so that there isn't a need to increase parking area on this, as far as a driveway space on the property. So the rest of the project remains the same. The proposed addition at the back of the house, which is over the existing sunroom and deck, and there's a small deck proposed with that. You can see that there's it's 25, 30 feet off the wetland line, but the house is already obviously there. There is a mitigation proposal that's proposed to remove lawn turf and increase the vegetative buffer. We reviewed that in the field and added some more detail to that at Conservation Post on that landward side. So with that, I'll bring it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt, do you have any comments?
Yeah, and this is the most recent plan. This is plan showing the septic layout. If you want to see any of the other plans that show things like the mitigation plantings, let me know. I have those in a different folder here. Okay, so project proposes a 2-story in-law addition. First level exterior portion aligns with the location of the existing deck and sunroom. A proposed porch extends beyond the existing. This proposed in-law addition triggers the need for a septic system upgrade. The existing septic system leaching field is designed for 818 gallons per day on the Grady septic plan per BOH records, and says it will be removed where necessary according to the septic plan. Tank is proposed to be replaced in the same area as the existing. I don't have info on the sizing of the existing, but the proposed is a 2-chamber, 2,000-gallon tank designed with leaching trenches and a reserve area. In discussing this filing with the health agent, the new leaching field is designed for the same flow rate as the existing system, sort of what we talked about before, where in Kingston, every leaching field is built to the same, a minimum standard. So the actual flow rate is around 590 gallons per day, sized up for 5 bedrooms at 550 gallons per day. Project is adding 1 bedroom to the existing, so going from 3 bedrooms to 4. So actual flow is increasing from 330 gallons per day to 440. Project narrative does not discuss compliance with the state and local wetlands protection regulations regarding the septic upgrade. Existing paved driveway is proposed to be removed in order to access the septic components, be replaced when the septic project is complete in the same configuration and square footage as the existing. Existing deck is considered impervious, and that was photo documented in May of 2025. Proposed structural work is within the 50-foot no disturb boundary, which is out of compliance with KWPR 10.08B2 for the deck and porch, and 10.08B5 for the addition. And KWPR 10.08B6 provides a standard for structures not being closer to resource areas when lot constraints exist, but it's unclear whether that would apply in this situation, where the commission could not be accused of an unconstitutional taking by denying a modification to an already developed residential property. And part of this is from when we had this hearing the first time. Some of it's repeated, and I apologize for that, but that's the need for variance requests, and I believe we did receive variance requests on this one. It's stated that the in-law addition is further from the closest resource area than the proposed, 28.9 feet away versus the existing being 28.7, but the proposed deck stairs are proposed closer at 27.5. So not huge, you're only talking about 1.5 feet, but it is technically the structure, if you're considering portions of a structure to be things that are connected all together, it is closer. We have those 2 standards where structures with an open pile foundation may be required to be built at least 40 feet away from any area subject to protection, and structures with wall-type foundation may be required to be built 50 feet from any area subject to protection. Project will increase impervious coverage from 12.2 to 14%, but remains below the 15% maximum allowed under KWPR. Portion of the project is located within the inner 100-foot riverfront area to an intermittent stream. However, the work is proposed within an area that's already developed as existing yard, lawn habit area. So for that reason, I haven't confirmed the stream's status or reviewed the associated habitat. Project narrative does include 7 related points, such as a discussion of the included mitigation planting. I noted before there was yard waste and debris dumping in the BVW that would have to be dealt with. I don't have an update on that. As I stated, the project includes mitigation plantings and a roof runoff infiltration system. The mitigation planting plan contains suitable species and tasks, including post-completion monitoring. The mitigation plan details call for 2 years of fall vegetative monitoring, but does not specify the need for reporting. An updated site plan was submitted detailing conservation posts and roof drain calculations. Plan notes that the proposed addition downspouts will be connected to the proposed roof infiltration system. The existing downspouts are to be connected to the maximum extent practicable according to the plan. The system is designed for 287 cubic feet of storage. I'm not sure what size storm that works for. All right. I'm not going to go through everything on the septic regulations, but the gist of it in KWPR, this is 10.02 A and B. You have B1 that says that B2, minimum 100-foot setback requirement shall not be required when a replacement system is necessary, provided that the system, including grading and retaining structures, is placed as far as possible from the wetland resource areas. Then 10.02B3 is, should a replacement system also constitute a substantial enlargement and increase in flow from expanded use of the existing system, the commission may require that the minimum 100-foot setback distance be observed. Based on the plans and narrative shown, this proposal may constitute a substantial enlargement and does constitute an increase in flow when compared to current use of the existing system. The commission would be within their rights in denying the project for failure to meet the performance standards of KWPR related to septic systems, particularly 10.02B 1 and 3. So project as shown doesn't meet the standards of those two that I just stated, as well as 10.08B 2 and 5 regarding structural setbacks. I have notes on other things as well, such as it proposes a porch, is it pervious? You know, the typical special condition on 3/8 spacing could be put in there. Special condition requiring the conservation post remain in place in perpetuity, as well as requiring the 2 years of post-completion monitoring beginning the calendar year after completion, and that all existing yard waste should be removed prior to start of construction. However, commission should determine whether the mitigation is sufficient enough to warrant approval of the project through issuance of OOCs. Standard should be a cumulative, positive, or neutral situation regarding detrimental effects to the relevant resource areas. It gets back a little bit to what we've discussed several times in recent meetings about septic systems. This location is not a location where one would be likely to be installed right now with the current regulations. Because the existing leaching field is going to be essentially the same size, there's no increase in the size of the leaching field, but there is an increase in flow. There is an increase in the use of the system by adding to the house, by adding a bedroom to the house. The tank, I believe, is also likely bigger. As part of the standard for ADUs, they require the two-chamber, tank now, but it's likely that tank is also an increase in size from what is there right now. It's something that the commission's going to see a lot of, and I think needs to be sure of how these things are going to be dealt with. The ADUs now are by right, as far as the state, is concerned. They've made basically every town change the zoning to make ADUs by right, but that does not mean that wetlands regulations don't apply. If you deny projects like this because they don't meet the standards and that's the rule, that's fine. People have the option always of appealing. Or if the commission wants to look at these situationally to determine whether in certain situations there may be no issue with that. There may be the ability to add a bedroom's worth of flow to a septic system and not have there be any off-target impacts from that. I don't have a great answer on that. Basically, as this was proposed, it doesn't meet 4 of the standards of KWPR. It does provide mitigation, and that could be great. It's definitely, right now, you have lawn right up to the edge of the wetland, essentially. As to whether that's enough, as well as getting some of the stormwater into the ground. Again, I don't know if anybody can speak to sizing on that, but if it's not sized properly, then in most storms, you're still just going to have the water blowing out, flowing over land. So.
Just as an aside, is there another way to approach the septic system? I know we've seen alternative designs in. Sorry, thanks, Mike. Is there another way to approach the septic system Just a.
I'm not the design engineer, and I'm not
Yeah.
a septic engineer. I know that the system now is inadequate, so this would be an upgrade.
No, I understand that.
No, I know. Would there, I don't have an answer if there's
Yeah.
an alternative system. I know that as, you know, as far as the overall project goes, there aren't many alternatives here. You can see the wooded area in the back where that red line goes to the shed, which is the erosion control, is a forested area. The project is within the footprint of existing structures. There's roof area now. The proposed infiltration will handle that area plus the other side of the house, so it is sized for that. So that is a good mitigative action.
For
We're
what
also-
size storm?
I don't have that detail either, but we can provide it if necessary. But what I'm saying is, right now, the gutters, there's roof area on that structure where the proposal is now, so that's shedding off. That's gonna be now captured and put to the rain guard, as well as that side of the house where the gutters can go to that side, so that's an improvement. We're proposing to turf out that area of lawn and put in a new vegetated buffer where there is none, so that increases. And you do have a septic upgrade. Yes, there is a bedroom, as you said, is increase in flow. I don't know what else we could do. It's a in my opinion, it's not a significant disturbance to the site as far as it's really a redevelopment working within existing areas.
Do you want me to pull up the plan that shows the restoration area?
Please.
And, you know, there is yard waste that was in the edge of the wetland, or, you know, certainly in the buffer. That would be, certainly, we'll make sure that's removed as a condition of an anticipated order.
Oh, boy. There's a lot of plans on this one. Do you recall if it was,
It's in the, whatever was, we sent you an updated notice today to respond to the plan dates,
Page 32 of that.
so it should be at the end.
it says it has 31 pages.
Oh, mine has 38.
The mitigation plan hasn't,
There we go.
there it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, this is an older plan, but the mitigation area has not changed, correct?
Correct, other than the placement of the posts on the landward side of the lawn.
Right, so now we had, I think, 3 posts across here. So yeah, the red is the new proposed. This stuff has not changed. The addition is right here, and this is the area that is currently or this area right here is where there's currently a 3-season room. And the septic tank is here, and the septic system is under the driveway. So I'll say to Marilyn's question, yes, there are alternative technology systems. They have been required in the past by the commission for situations, you know, within proximity of, I believe, a pond, at least. I know we've done that.
And Brentwood, I think it was a stream.
They are certainly a lot more expensive and a lot more maintenance, but the water that comes out of the tank into the leaching field is supposed to be like drinking quality, so that there's a benefit there to not affecting wetlands. I try to look at every situation just looking at the regulations and not thinking about where somebody's at. I try, and that's impersonal of me, but I try not to. I mean, anybody who's filing anything with us might be great people, and they might have a really valid reason for what they're looking to do, but I, from what I'm doing supporting the commission, try to just lay everything out and lay it out where it appears to not, you know, meet certain standards. When it comes to the septic thing, it, to me, doesn't fit. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe somebody can make a case that, you know, it's not actually really increasing, but to me, when you're adding flow, you are increasing the load and you are increasing the chances that that has off-target impacts. I don't have
Okay.
great answers on that. I don't. But to me, it's, you have the ability to build a house with the regulations that are there at the time. For many houses, the regulations have changed since the houses were built, but the houses are still there, they're still usable. You're not taking anybody's property away from them by not allowing them to make the house bigger down the road. But for a lot of people, that is going to be a hardship, and it is going to cost them significant money and hassle, and that's awful. I don't know always what the right answer is for some of these things. In one hand, it's just somebody who's looking to add a little space on their house, and if the septic system can keep up with it, and there's no issue with it, and it's not ever going to leach anything out towards the wetlands, then maybe it's fine. But if that's not the case, and an increase in flow, even if it's 10, 20 years down the road, does cause a lot of, you know, nitrogen or whatever to come out
Right.
into the wetlands, then that's not great. I don't know.
I know that the application has been submitted to the Board of Health, as I mentioned. Matt, did you speak with the Board of Health agent? Did he have concerns that the design was not adequate, or do you have any comments from him? or
No,
her?
I think the concerns were about the previous, you know, that the system that was there is not, I believe, is that right? There's something with the system right now where it's not,
Correct, that's
up to
the need
par.
for the upgrade to the
right.
septic.
So like, yeah.
So
There is
that-
a need for an upgrade, so she did go to the site, observe test pits, said that it was being put in, you know, the best possible location in terms of the wetlands within the lot boundary, so all that is true. Yeah. It's just from my opinion, unfortunate point for anybody who has a property and is looking to do these things, that the commission does not have to approve, even with that situation. So I think the commission has to, I think the commission should always be looking at things situationally, because every lot is different, every wetland is different, every situation is different. But I think you're gonna see an awful lot of these coming up, and
Okay.
it's just important to have some sort of a standard on this. I mean,
Set some precedent.
the way KWPR is written, you can't have septic components within 100 feet. Now, if they had to replace the system and replace it exactly as is, then I think you would want to approve that, because the system that's there is not in good shape. And I don't think you're gonna make everybody who has a septic system within jurisdictional areas transition to alternative technology when they have to change their septic system out. But if you're asking to increase the flow rate into your septic system, then I think the commission has every right in those situations to either deny a project or to say, we'd much rather see alternative technology used in
Yeah.
these situations. But you have to have the understanding that that's gonna cost people way more money than it is for them to do something like what's proposed here.
Well, one thing I thought you mentioned, Matt, is that the system now, well, first off, the system now is inadequate, so it needs to be an upgrade, so that would be an improvement to the site. But that the design of the system is oversized per the Kingston regulations, as it is. So we're proposing an oversized system to handle the project. Yes, it's gonna be one bedroom more than is existing, but environmentally, you're taking out a bad system and placing it with an oversized new system. So if we were to say, sorry, we just feel that we can't approve it, then they go on with their house as is with a system that's not adequately protecting the interest that you're trying to protect. Whereas allowing the system with a waiver as an oversized system for one additional bedroom. That's how I think I heard it, but I may have heard it wrong. Again, I'm not a design engineer for septic systems. Usually when it's done in the Board of Health, I have enough to do with wetlands and other things. But That's how I think that's how I heard it.
I'm not sure exactly the question, but what you just said sounds
Offers a
accurate.
rationale.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, again, I think this is a tough one.
I think it's harder because the issue isn't only the septic, the issue is also how close this addition will be in the buffer zone. To me, anyways, I'm just one of us, but if it was only the septic, that'd be one thing, but it's also the septic and how close this is now going to be, the proposed addition. And the glaring issue is that this septic, whether it be an upgrade, reading what I need to support, I can't support, it doesn't meet the standards. So I don't see how,
Yeah, and something changed between this plan and the next plan we got, because this is showing the corner of the deck being further than the existing, but I have it on the new plan as being closer. And again, it's not much closer, so the house as it is very close, but that's, I guess, that's part of my point, is that we
Right,
have a
it's
lot of
close.
properties in Kingston that were developed very close to wetlands, especially back before KWPR or in the early days of KWPR with the 25-foot no disturbance zone.
right,
I know
That doesn't
the-
mean that you can keep adding on to them, the way the regulations are written now. But I do think that the commission may want to consider things similar to what Brad said, where, if they do need to upgrade the system and the new system is still going to be oversized, maybe the answer shouldn't always be no to those. Again, I don't know, but I'm saying the commission needs to figure this stuff out, and we don't have a standard other than KWPR, which
Right.
states that
right.
you can require 100 feet in situations like this.
They're upgrading the system because of the addition, correct? It's not like it's an emergency upgrade. It needs to be upgraded because it's old but that's triggered by this addition, correct? So
I
without this
believe that
addition, there
is-
wouldn't
yeah.
be an upgrade, so now
'Cause-
we're kind of,
Right, because the initial filing was for the addition without
right,
the upgrade, but it was pointed out that this essentially was an ADU, because I don't believe that we even had information about there being an additional bedroom. This was, I believe, pitched differently initially, as though it was,
I can tell you how my understanding was that it was an addition. The commission had asked for details on the foundation. I provided the architectural renderings. Looking at the foundation, certainly didn't go through the pages of the architectural, and it called it out as an in-law apartment.
right.
On the architectural renderings. If that's an ADU, so be it. So we're here for, let's call it an ADU. I mean, the architect called it an in-law. We started with an addition. If it's technically an ADU, I don't know that the difference in the terminology, but yes, it triggered the need for the septic system upgrade.
Right.
And the addition, the Brady plan isn't a new drawing as far as the addition. The Klim land surveying plan has a better detail. It is like 1 foot further away from the existing structure, so it isn't landward of the existing structure. It should be, it's a little, Clement, see that 28.7 line versus the 28.9 or 30 and 29.8. It's essentially the same, but I'm just saying it's not coming, I'll call it the same, but maybe it's 2 inches back, but it's not landward of it. Or the intent is, or the drawing wasn't intended to be that way. my thoughts are is, give you my last pitch. They construct the in-law ADU within existing footprints, negative, if that's what you're viewing. They upgrade the septic system, positive. They take out lawn that's mowed to the edge of the wetland, at least 9 feet, turf that off and plant it with native shrubs and seed that with a, buffer seed mix, and you have conservation posts at the edge. You take out that ability to maintain lawn, and now we have a vegetated buffer against the project area where there is none now. Plus, so there's 2 pluses versus 1 negative / maybe in the middle. I'm done.
Matt, did you say the health inspector said the existing septic system is failing?
I can't recall that that's what she said. I recall that when this first came forward, I think she said they had no information on the system, or that the system wasn't in compliance or something along those lines. I don't have information
That it
that the
was
system
inadequate
is failing.
as is.
It might be, I don't
Said that they
know.
went out and did test?
They went and did soil borings for, I believe, the new septic system was gonna be slightly shifted. Is that the new
My understanding is what you
leaching
said,
field
they
was gonna
didn't
be
have
slightly shifted over? They did borings
information
there.
And they needed to do perk tests, and that's, in order to, the leach field it's on the Grady plan, but the leach field's further into the front lawn, so they're moving it into the driveway space.
Yeah, there was some sort of a shift here. The existing and the proposed leaching field were in roughly the same location, but there was some sort of a shift enough that they went out and they did soil test pits, and she went and observed that the soil there was suitable for that location for infiltration. Now, I can probably try to pull up one of the other plans. I don't know if we have topography showing between here and here. Would it help them to make this mitigation area substantially bigger? Lose significant lawn area and have it go all the way up by the road? That way you're completely buffering the wetland, and not just in a couple of feet way, but like a substantial vegetated buffer that if you do have something, it's hard to say, if you do have some sort of slow release, that there are enough plants there to take stuff like that up before stuff hits the wetland. Would that help? Maybe.
I know we've extended it in other circumstances to
Yeah.
make it a better pitch.
I was concerned that the mitigation did not go all the way
Mhm.
up to the road or close to it, especially if you're increasing the leaching field.
Let me pull the other plan back up. So what we saw before was the mitigation area was around here. And the wetland flags come all the way up near the road like this. And then your inland bank on intermittent stream is here.
Does that red line the erosion control?
Yes, and then we do have contours on here. We have a 42 right here, a 44 right here, a 46 right here. So we do have
Slopes
a
down.
gradient from where the proposed and where the current leaching field are to where the wetlands are out front too.
So a better buffer would be helpful.
It would help, yeah. I don't know whether or not mitigation is enough to issue variances is entirely up to the commission. I think in all cases, it should be based in science and, best practices. But I think certainly having it be wider and connecting up to the road would help. And again, I think in some situations, we have a tendency to look at a situation and say like, oh, we feel bad, somebody should be able to do this stuff. It's not that big of a deal, and I worry about long-term effects of that type of decision-making, and like starting to see this more and more and more, and we're gonna have a lot of situations with a lot of buildup. Now, maybe Brad is right, and in this situation, it may actually be a benefit versus the existing system.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, the existing system was sized the same in terms of leaching field capacity, so it maybe is just, it's old and junked up, and that's the issue, which, I mean, if that's the case, it would have to be replaced soon anyways. So the case that replacing it is better because the existing one is failing or is not in good condition, but only if it comes with an increase in bedroom and flow rate, you know, it's not the route that I go on this stuff.
I can certainly adjust the mitigation planting plan to bring it, to carry that scheme along, you know, out to wetland flag A1, and then, you know, continue it along that, if that's something that the commission thinks would be something supportive to the project, and, you know, could get that as a follow-up or a special condition, whatever would work for you.
Do we know how old the existing septic and leaching
I was just
field is?
looking to see if I wrote down when the property, it's an older home,
My notes say 1987,
1987.
the septic. From our last meeting, my notes say the septic is from 1987.
Pretty old.
I don't,
I mean, they're gonna need
I
to
mean,
I didn't
redo
provide
this
that, but
Yeah,
at some point pretty soon.
yeah.
If we get something out of the process, because they're asking for a slightly larger one, and we get mitigation as a result, it strikes me as a fairly decent deal. I mean,
Yeah,
they're
this-
gonna need a new septic and leaching field fairly soon.
Why don't we put it back on them and say, continue this and come back with another proposal, come back with something, whether it's additional mitigation. I think we need to know the sizing on the dry wells, because if dry wells aren't sized properly, what's the point? But if sized properly, it's excellent getting stuff in the ground. And if you want to consider alternative technology and have them price that stuff out, I think alternative technology in situations like this is kind of a slam dunk. I don't know. So I think the best thing to do is to continue this, to ask for more information, and just have them come back with your best shot.
Yeah,
That-
just incorporating all of the things you were talking about with the stormwater, extra mitigation.
It's
better
always
system.
up to the applicant
Yeah,
to
exactly.
burden of proof, right?
Burden of proof.
They have to convince the commission that you should be saying yes to this, and right now you have several, or 4 that I counted, ways that it does not meet the local regulations, and you do have some mitigation, but it's not, I would say, substantial, or that's not clear yet. So if we get more information on the downspout, dry wells, and if the numbers don't come out great, then maybe resize them so that they are great, and get better width and length on mitigation. And I don't know, I think the commission's had projects before where somebody comes forward with like the best possible, you know, especially if you know there's variances, right? You come forward with the best possible proposal in terms of mitigation, and the commission looks in those situations and goes like, okay. And I think it's easier to pass stuff like that through than when you're looking at like, well, it really doesn't meet these, and we know we're gonna see a lot of these going forward, and if we say yes to this one, then we might have to say yes in those situations, otherwise there's examples of why we should have, because we said yes to those ones, and then you run into potentially a lot of issues down the road. Maybe you don't, maybe adding one
Yes, you do.
bedroom on something that's sized for 5 anyways is never gonna be problematic across town. But maybe it is, and maybe you start to say yes to a lot of these, and they do become problematic as these systems age, and we have poor wetland quality because of it. We already have poor wetland quality all across the town, the state, and the country because of things that we're all doing. So I think it's worth the commission taking the time to make sure that these protections are upheld while being reasonable about things. So I think asking applicants to come forward with their best possible plans right off the bat is good practice.
So, motion to continue?
How much time?
So let me just, I just want to make sure that, and it's not your fault, but this will be the 4th hearing on this project. I just want to make sure that I come back with what we're looking for. So we're looking for us to evaluate the mitigation, confirm the sizing of the roof infiltration system, Matt, you mentioned, septic as far as looking at what, in the sense of,
Yeah, I would say anybody looking to increase flow rate within wetland jurisdiction, particularly where there's more sensitive resource areas involved, whether it's ponds, streams, vernal pools, should consider alternative technology. Things like jet systems with the UV clarification on it. I mean, those systems are designed to be clean. Yeah. So
Is there
the
any?
commission's never saying, go do this and that's what you need to do. It's just, right now, on paper, I have a hard time recommending to the commission that they should say yes to a project when it's got,
That's why
a lot
I
wrong with it.
recommend denying this, and then come back if you have a better plan sometime. Bring it back, not continue it, and come back, deny it, figure it out. That would be my
I was
recommendation.
gonna ask for
Yes.
continuance so that we could get these 3 points, but if you're gonna make I'll ask for the continuance, whether you accept it or not, that's, I guess, up to the commission, but.
I think we're close to possibly finding a solution. It means you have to do some number crunching and looking at maybe an alternative, but I mean, I don't have any problem with you taking another whack at this without denying it. That's just me.
And I'm not,
And you deny it without prejudice, right?
Deny it without prejudice, yeah.
and not to throw you under the bus, Matt, and I asked, and I know Matt's been busy. This is new to me tonight on your concern for mitigation and septic. I asked for a copy of staff report. I know you're busy, I'm just saying, the commission may think, well, why is Brad
Yeah.
coming with his, not with his stuff in line? I had no idea that the septic was gonna be an issue because it was already at the Board of Health. The Board of Health was waiting for a septic, for the commission approved in order to issue. So I know, Matt, you didn't have enough time to get, I'm just saying that's why I don't have these answers for you tonight as far as the septic system goes, because I didn't know they were concerned.
you don't have to have all the answers. It's that what Board of Health thinks and what the wetlands regulations are 2 different things. So we've gone over these on several projects recently, that an increase in septic is a problem for the regulations. So it's not that you did something wrong tonight. It's not that you don't have the answers. It's that
I'm just
this
letting the
plan
commission
doesn't
know
meet-
where I'm coming from.
So where I wrote, the project narrative does not discuss compliance with the state and local wetlands protection regulations regarding the septic upgrade. If this were a new NOI filing, if we hadn't allowed this to come back with this modification, we wouldn't accept it because it doesn't have a project narrative that goes through and discusses, because burden of proof is on the applicant to say how it passes all the regulations. And then when I go through and do the review, it appears not to. And providing staff reports is a courtesy. It's not something that I have to do, and it's not something that I always do, and I haven't been in the office really all day.
I understand,
So-
I'm just letting, I'm
I
just
understand the
voicing-
frustration on
yes.
that, but
Yep.
it's on the applicant, it's on the representative to come forward with your best plan, to have everything together and get things so that the commission reviews it and goes, hey, this looks great, we're done. And if you need a variance, understand that you need a variance by coming through with the project narrative step by step, and then when you go through, you go, oh, wait, we need a variance on that. I better prepare a variance request, and if I'm doing that, I have to have something that explains or provides for why we should get it, because everybody shouldn't get a variance, otherwise why do we have regulations? So, we are, or I should say, I am busy, and I apologize for any delays caused by my office, because there will be some. But it's not on me or them if a project doesn't meet the regulations.
And I'd like to ask if the commission would continue this so that we can get these details. I can coordinate with Grady Consulting on the septic. I can change the mitigation area very quickly, and I can get the engineers to calculate the roof runoff area, what's proposed versus what's, is it adequate or not, and maybe there's an opportunity to add an additional roof infiltration, so I can look at that.
Similar to what Marilyn said, I would have no issue with, like, giving
So-
them a chance to reassess how to get a project that needs this level of variance
So then I
approval by
will
the
make the
commission.
motion to continue, and then we can vote and decide how it goes.
How much time do you think you would need to get a week in advance of a meeting for review of what you submit?
I would say to the first meeting in October, that would give us enough time.
October 8th, is that?
Yeah.
So was there a second?
I'll second.
I've got a motion, I've heard a motion to continue this matter to October 8th. It's been seconded. Take a vote on that. Dot?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Clean as a yes. Marilyn?
Yes.
And Brian?
Yes.
The motion passes. We'll see you on the 8th. Thank you for your counsel.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thanks, Brady.
And good night to you, too. All right, let's see what else we've got on here.
Jim saying he can only get in on the phone. Do you think it makes sense to send him that now, or should we just?
Tell him he should just not.
I don't think we have.
Yeah.
Well, we're through the bigger things.
Yeah.
Well,
You got it.
he can do what he wants.
You guys
Yeah.
enforcement.
He can do the Mullins rule if he feels so inclined. Can he?
I love the Mullins rule. Yes, he can.
There you go.
do the Mullins rule.
In his own time.
So if he wants to just join from here on, just for more items.
Where are we back to enforcement?
We're back to the second action item.
We have action.
Um,
So that would be 17 Nobody?
Yes.
Okay.
They requested a continuance?
17 Nobody, yep, it's it's a public meeting to discuss their RDA for the construction of an addition to a single-family house within the buffer zone. And they would like to continue this to October 8, 2025. Want to take is that okay with you, Matt?
Yep, that's fine.
Do I hear that motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, the motion seconded. Dodd?
Yes.
Is Jim on or off?
I do not think he
All right.
got on yet.
Megan?
aye.
Colleen is a yes. Marilyn?
Yes.
And Brian?
Yes.
So the matter of, on Nobody Air is continued to October 8th. Thank you. Did we already do 44 Rayboth?
We did not.
So let's move along to enforcement of 44 Rayboth Road. Where are we with that, Matt?
So I think Jenna is on and can speak to this. I got an email recently from Jenna. She had received the plan from the engineer, and she was trying to get it to the building commissioner, who no longer works here. So we kind of exchanged emails a little bit. I don't know that the building commissioner has looked at anything yet, but I just briefly looked through the plan that she sent yesterday and gave some feedback on it. I can't speak too much to it. I asked if there was anything with it, like there's no letter or anything to accompany it from the engineer, so there's just a couple pages that show sort of the layout of the wall, and there's some details that show how it's, I can't tell if it's how it's installed or how it's supposed to be installed, to tell you the truth, but it says on it something along the lines of need to revisit the site to get elevation and location data. So I asked if he was planning on coming back for that, and she had reached out to him and said he's not, and so she was gonna reach out to a surveyor to come out and shoot that information for it, but, so I don't have a lot of information on that. She might be able to speak to it a little bit, but, you know, basically backing way up to when we first started talking about this, the wall was a big issue, right? We have a wall that was roughly 10 feet tall, built within, I think, roughly 30 feet of the pond. KWPR says no walls over, I think it's 4 feet within 50 feet of a wetland. So right off the bat, we know it doesn't meet the standards of KWPR, but because it was already there, the commission made the decision to say, let's just see if it could even get a building permit. Because if it can't get a building permit either, then it's a total non-starter and either needs to be removed or modified. So there's that. Part of, and I remember talking back for when we first talked with them on this, it was supposedly built to keep runoff from going down into the pond. And they built a concrete parking area at the top of the wall, also unpermitted. And so I think what the commission wants with the whole wall thing is to know that it's stable. And if it is stable and it's able to get a building permit, then they would have to file with the commission for the unpermitted work there, which includes the wall and all of the concrete up there. I did get an email from the abutter at 46 Rabbith Road with concerns about stormwater runoff, partially because I expressed concerns to him about stormwater runoff because they have open orders of conditions for the development of that property. And I went there for a site visit and ran through with them the things that were still outstanding, some of the work involving the restoration areas, mitigation areas, and there was a fresh stormwater cut going down the driveway into the wetland. And I said, you have to fix that. And now he's questioning, why do I have to fix it when it's their water and they moved? He's like, I heard the meeting where they said they moved the water, the level away so that it didn't go into the pond. Well, now it's coming onto my property and going into our wetlands. So there's one part of that, there's one part of that that's neighbor relations stuff, where if your neighbor does something that causes an issue on your property, that's on you and them to figure it out. And then there's the wetlands aspect of it, which we're already in the middle of dealing with. So here we are.
Okay. Any comment?
Hey, Matt, and everybody, this is Jenna.
Hold on,
44 Rabbit
one
Road.
second, Kalina. I think we
Yeah.
have Jim. Do you want me to admit?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
You want to have him call himself
Yeah,
in?
you should identify.
Him?
He's
Do you want to
muted.
ask if it's?
It looks like he's muted.
781, is that the phone number?
Yeah, it should be the
Confirm
phone.
that it's Jim.
Yes, can we confirm that that's at you, Jim, 781? Last digits 953?
Yep, that's it.
All right, thanks. You satisfied that's Jim?
Yeah.
Let the record show Jim is now attending.
Jim is now attending.
Sorry, Jenna, thank you.
Oh, that's okay. So I guess my question back to you, Matt, is what information are you looking for tonight? Like, what can I share in addition to what you shared?
I don't know. I think based on your email tonight, I don't think there is
You don't have information.
anything you can share, but I think we need, before you go to a surveyor, I think we need something from this engineer on what was created. What did he just do? What is on that plan? Some sort of a narrative to accompany it, even if it's one page. It should be something that says, I went to 44 Rabbit Road, I inspected the retaining wall that was built there, here's what I did. And it should detail that he inspected the way it was installed and put that plan together, and then he should stamp the letter.
Okay.
And submit that to us. You will, at some point, need locational data on that, but I don't know if you will necessarily need that for the building department or not. So I would not do anything else with a surveyor until you talk to Paul. He may require
Okay.
that because of needing to see where it is on the property, but he may not. I don't know 100% how their stuff works. So I don't want to have you
Okay.
go to a surveyor if he doesn't need it, because if the wall does not pass whatever their standards are, then there's no point in surveying it for the commission, because at that point, you would likely need to build the wall differently in order to meet the standards of the Kingston wetland regulations. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, it does.
Okay.
It does. So I'll go back to Andy, see what he can give me to accompany the specs I sent you earlier, and then I guess send you an update.
Yeah, and if he has any questions, he can call or email. Email is preferred.
Okay. And then as far as the building commissioner, should I try to continue following up with Paul at this point?
Paul is the only hope
Okay.
at this point.
All right. I'll keep sending an email like once a week or so. Try to get in touch with him.
Cool.
All right. Nothing else on that?
I have nothing else on
Did
it.
Jim want to speak?
Do you want to speak on this, Jim?
No, I'm following what you guys are going with, but it sounds like Matt's right on the point where, really you need the commissioner to weigh in whether or not he's going to allow the wall to be permitted, and then it becomes, back to an issue of wetlands.
All right.
Okay. So Matt, I'll keep you and the commission updated as I get more information over the next week or so.
Sure. Do we want to push this to the 24th?
Sure. That works for me.
All right, we'll hear from you then. Thanks, Jenna.
Thank you, guys.
Welcome. So do you want a motion to continue to the 24th?
Can I have a motion to continue this enforcement matter to 24 of September?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Want to vote on that motion, Dottie, you ready?
Yep. Yes.
Jim?
Abstain.
Megan?
Yes.
Kalina's yes. Marilyn?
Yes.
And Brian?
Yes.
Okay, we'll do that on the 24th. Do we have meeting minutes? Have I seen them?
August 13th, 2025, and Marilyn emailed me a couple of edits that I received and made.
All right, haven't seen it? Haven't seen it.
Oh, like in print. I forgot. You want
Yeah.
everything in print.
Yeah.
I did not print the minutes for you.
Okay,
No.
everyone else has seen the minutes, though. So, Want to approve those minutes? Dot, have you seen the minutes?
Wait, do you want a
Yes,
motion to
I
approve?
approve.
You want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Second, Dot? Yep, I heard you say yes. Jim?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
I haven't seen the minutes, so I won't vote. Marilyn
Yes.
and Brian?
Yes.
All right, great, super. A couple of updates.
Yeah, grant updates. We received a grant from Division of Ecological Restoration's culvert replacement program for the Lake Street culvert, but not the amount we asked for. We're still waiting on 2 federal grants on that. One is a 10% match requirement, one has a 20% match requirement, and the project is roughly $1.5 million. So I asked this program to provide 20% match, and which was roughly $280,000. And they did give us money, but they gave us about 50 for pre-bid work. So of that 50, I don't know how much of that I can actually spend. We have to do an analysis, a weight-bearing assessment of Old Lake Street, which is $5,000. That was a requirement of the fire chief. He wants very much to be able to keep Old Lake Street open for emergency vehicles during that time period where we're gonna have Lake Street closed for roughly 2 months. So we would very much like to be able to provide that. So we just need that assessment to come back and say it can handle, I think he said 50,000 pounds. And if that's the case, then we have no problems. If it's not the case, then we might have problems. Beyond that, I can pay our engineer to prep bid documents for the eventual bidding of that project, which can't happen until we get enough money and match funding to build it. Obviously, in the fiscal environment that we're in, I am trying as hard as I can to not have to ask the residents of Kingston for any money for anything. So, like the Blackwater project is completely funded by the state with federal money. It's cost the town nothing. So I'm trying to not do that while also getting this really important connectivity and, resiliency project done. So we do have that. We're going to move forward with that. Unfortunately, I got a no back from MVP. We asked MVP to fund the whole project, and they said no. That was the same program that gave us $1.6 million last year to try to buy the bog properties and wouldn't let us just use it for this. And we didn't get the funding from them this year. So still waiting on a few grants. Federal grants have been still moving out of these, at least one of these programs. So we're hopeful that they didn't just die on the vine somewhere in federal purgatory. And we're hopeful we'll hear back soon. Still waiting to hear back on the Trails grant for the Bates Pond project. And I think that's my last grant update for now. Restoration update on Blackwater Memorial Forest. It is done, it is reopened. We have started to host walks.
It's so
And-
pretty in there. I walked it.
Did you?
I wasn't able to join any of your walk times, but we walked through it and it looked so different than before, but it looked so pretty. So if you didn't know what it looked like before, you'd walk in and be like, oh my God, it's just gorgeous in here. Look at the wide open, flat trail. Where before it was so nice and, so just, even Frank was like, oh my God, every other second we were looking and it's so nice.
Removed a lot of the regenerating pines, not only from the bog itself, but from the perimeter.
Yeah.
So maintenance-wise, it's gonna be a lot easier and it's a lot flatter. I talked to Dot about, unfortunately, some mix-up between us and the engineer. We didn't connect the trail with the parking lot. So we're gonna have to do that on our own, and we're gonna work eventually to get a ADA accessible parking spot there, using some sort of like a geo-grid that you can fill and have that be nice and flat. But the way it is right now, it's okay, the parking lot. It's 3/4 inch crushed stone, it's flat. And I talked with Dot about, they can have trips from the COA with the bus to go there and walk people around that bog, and it's perfectly
Oh,
flat.
it absolutely is.
You know, if people
yeah.
want to go beyond that, you can go up around the natural wetlands on more classic trails, but it is nice to
And
have
those
one
trails
trail
are-
that's like flat
Yeah.
and, you know, real
This
easy.
the front loop would be perfect. That back loop, I definitely would not recommend for anyone with mobility issues.
Right.
There's a lot
So
of deep
I can
cuts.
share,
It's beautiful.
But that front loop is absolutely gorgeous and completely flat.
so this looks really weird. Okay, hopefully I can zoom out. Maybe the file is too big for Zoom.
I think that's what, it did it from my computer too. It was like, it cannot
Oh,
open.
boy, I can
Yeah.
zoom in, but I can't zoom out.
Yep.
So we got some fantastic drone footage, thanks to Jimmy Powell from Jones River Watershed. But I can't really show it to you because Zoom can't function with it.
Yeah. I just posted on Facebook. I did see it. It was beautiful.
Yeah, he got some on, he posted on, oh, here we go. Here's the most recent shot. So this is, the one I was trying to show you was the pre-work shot. So this is now looking from Winthrop Street. So you have the parking area at the bottom left. It's short section here to get to the trail. Right here is where the first water control structure was pulled. We have a nice bridge there built by John Bonomi. And then you have this nice, flat, wide stone dust path that comes around the whole former bog cell here and comes back. Here's where the dam, the earth dam was, and still is, right here. But this water control structure was pulled.
And the shed's gone.
Ah.
So pretty.
Sorry. So now you have a bridge across that as well, and rather than have all of the flow just hugging the perimeter ditch here, all the perimeter ditches have been filled. Water was forced back to the middle. They dug a short stream channel here that meanders around that looks great. It looks like it's been there for years. And it goes towards the middle, and once it's in the middle, we put a few stop log dams in there so that it didn't just rush down the middle, which doesn't look like it's happening anyways, but that's kind of how over time that will work its way through. And have true connectivity now between here, which is an 8-acre acidic fen habitat, and Blackwater Pond. And then from Blackwater Pond, it can connect out through Stony Brook and the Jones River to the ocean. So it's a really good connectivity project, but you can see, you know, all of this area was all pine, and they went in and over here as well. All of this, the trees were, the regenerating pines were ripped out, and they did what they call microtopography. They go in with a machine, and this was all done over the winter, and they flip the soil over and make it kind of like pit and mound topography to get different hydrological gradients. And I was worried what everybody would think, what it would look like, but I think because it took so long for us to open the property up, it already looks great. Everything is greened up.
Incredibly familiar with what it looked like before, you
Yeah.
would think that somebody went in and just built that path because it looks so new and it looks
Yeah.
so nice. But, you know, we know, if you were familiar, it does look so different, but if you understand why, then you're like, oh, wow.
What would you
And
say?
nothing in here was seeded, so
Right.
what you had in here, and you still have it in a few areas, we have a few strips here and an area down the bottom where we'll work slowly over time, either through the hydrology or just through girdling some of the pines, but there was nothing growing under these pines, and that's what I've been showing everybody on these walks, is these areas over here, you can still see that there's nothing under there but pine needles. And there's too much shade, there's too much competition, but nothing out here was seeded or planted. All of this stuff, all the native grasses and sedges and everything just popped first year.
Did
And-
you put anything along the trails, like a seed mix along?
Yeah, on the
Okay.
sides of the
Yeah.
trails, it's a wildflower, like a native meadow
Yeah.
seed mix, but we used a cover crop of buckwheat, and that's what you can see there right
Okay.
now. It's those white flowers. I'll be out there tomorrow, rolling that down because they're gonna come back next week and hydroseed it for the winter, essentially. The
Okay.
species that are in the meadow mix need cold stratification, so putting it down in July doesn't do a lot. And nothing else was really gonna grow in July, especially with no irrigation. So the buckwheat came in fantastic, considering it never got anything
Yeah.
other than a few natural rain events. But they are gonna come back, put down the meadow mix, and use a winter rye cover crop on that. So the winter rye should grow and stabilize before the winter, and then all the other seed will just sit there through the winter and pop up, hopefully pretty good in the spring. So, really good project. I think we hit all, if not most, of our ecological goals with it, and I think we gave people a better walking surface around the first bog and a better view, because you're no longer, shielded by regenerating white pines the entire way down. We're
What's the
gonna,
distance, Matt? Do you know?
We did it, if you do both the first bog and go up into the woods, it was about 1.2 miles. I think
Just a little circle?
the little circle is like a quarter.
Yeah, it's
Maybe
not
a
very
third of
long.
a
No, I
mile.
guess I figured.
Yeah.
yeah, we went this way and then looped around the trail that goes around the natural wetlands and then back, and that was 1.2,
so-
yeah.
Hmm.
It connects out here to the power lines on both sides. There are trails that go up into the hills on the sides here, then the Boy Scout property is back here. So, I mean, there are other, connecting trails there. Some of them go onto private property, some of them stay on the property. But in general, just a really good place to explore. It's now available, I think, to more people. And what we're gonna try to do on the earth dam, we still have to treat some gray willow, which is an invasive species. And with some of it, after it's treated, we're gonna try to keep that area kind of a short section cut low so that you always have a view of the natural wetlands up here. So even if there's somebody up there, might be mobility impaired or something, that you can still get up there and kind of bird watch both sides at the same time without having a bunch of stuff in your face. So it's a good project. I'm happy with it. And after next week, hopefully, it will be officially completely done,
Great.
Which is great.
Right on.
And
How are you
let's
doing at
see.
Sampson Park?
So, Sampson Park, let me see if I can pull up the file that I wanted to share. I might not be. There we go. So I want to talk to the commission. I don't need any real major answers tonight, but I'm going to come forward with some sort of a proposal at some point soon. What we're looking at right now is what used to be Sampson Pond. So once the Elm Street Dam was removed, the pond drained, and again, a function of amazing seed stability over time. Nothing here was seeded. All of this stuff just popped up out of the seed bank from the bottom of the pond. And the diversity is incredible. So now this is a floodplain attached to the Jones River, which is really good. The diversity out here is great. Cardinal flower, I have pictures of tons of different wildflowers out there. There were bumblebees and butterflies and everything out there. It's just, it's awesome. Tons of the native rushes and sedges and everything. A little bit of purple loosestrife, which is invasive, but we'll take care of that over time. And there's a little Phragmites that has to be treated closer to Elm Street as well. But the main thing is we need a management plan for this area, in my opinion. If we don't have a management plan for this and we don't do anything with this, over time, we will just end up with forest going right to the river. What we have that's really good is we have birch trees growing up against the river. That's an early colonizing species. It's doing its job, it's popping up. If we let that keep going, that will take over the entire site. It will then transition to the rest of the species, become a forest. There's nothing wrong with forest, obviously. We're big on forest, but for diversity's sake, having places like this and areas of disturbance is good for maintaining all of the species that were just in that last picture. Those will all go away when this transitions back into forest. However, for cold water and habitat purposes, you really like having a forested buffer up against the river. So, having the birches here, growing in, having that area transition into other species that are gonna grow and shade the river and keep water temperature down is excellent. That's where your fish are gonna wanna hang out. They're gonna hang out underneath the trees on this side where the osprey can't see them or the kingfishers can't see them. It's great stuff. I just think that we need something, some sort of plan for keeping some portion of this open as floodplain meadow. I think that does wonders for the diversity of the site. So I'm going to be taking some time to try to put something together to bring to the commission for input on what you want to see. Because obviously when it comes to our regulations and development, we have 200 feet, and if it's in a natural condition, leave it alone. That's essentially the way we would treat something like the Jones River, right? A perennial perennial stream and a really important resource. But everything back there is gonna stay in a natural condition no matter what. So we're not talking about development, we're just talking about a management plan to interrupt the process of succession out there, you know, turning a portion of this back into a forest. So wanted to show some pictures, just to point out how great it looks. And again, thanks to Jimmy Powell from JRWA, because I stole a lot of these pictures off of his Smug Mug account. This is looking in the opposite direction. So now the Jones River is on the left, the floodplain meadow is on the right. This is more, this is Elm Street here. So this shows a little more of what it looks like now. I have a real hard time with zooming in on this stuff. It just won't let me, just won't let me do that. Anyways, this area right here, this is all your birch trees. This is right up against the river, doing a great job. But you are starting to see them kind of pop out further and further, smaller.
Do you walk out there, or is it not?
I have walked out there before. It is pretty wet in spots. You have some like little rivulets that connect across here and over here. So a lot of that area is kind of hummocky.
Yeah.
And it's been a few years, I think, since I've been out in the middle of that. But you can also see the Phragmites over here. I'm gonna be, probably sooner than we get a management plan in, I'm gonna come forward with an RDA on that, because that's taking over very quickly. And if that takes over the whole site, you're talking major restoration instead of just a few of us out there, you know, keeping that down. So that's all. Just wanted to give some early what to expect on that, and I'll come back with something a little more in the future on that. And we have some comments down there. Sorry, we missed a question of whether there was time for public comment on something from Pine du Bois at 7:44. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I got.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
Great. Well, I think that's lovely.
Are you gonna go over this? Or is this just an invite?
It's just an invite.
Okay.
It's a letter that I got
Yep.
today to
Okay.
all the commissioners, addressed to each one of you. There was nothing addressed to Jim, but there was one addressed to Juliana, so when Jim gets home, you can come pick his up. But for everybody's awareness, it was a letter from Community Land and Water Coalition out of Plymouth, inviting the commission to a presentation at Plymouth Patuxent in early October. I think it was October 4th, for conversations about prescribed fire risk and habitat management.
And I wish I could go. I just
Marilyn
can't.
says it's a good speaker. I didn't
My
look
daughter's
through
at
it
homecoming.
terribly
It's
much.
homecoming that day.
I will be unfortunately out of state.
Yeah, I'll be at a homecoming game.
Is that it? All right, the
To
next,
adjourn.
Second.
well, the next meeting will be September 24, 2025, starting at 6:30 PM. The time right now is 8:17. We've heard a motion to adjourn from Brian, seconded by Marilyn. Going to take a vote on that. Dot?
Yes.
Jim? Megan? Oh, thanks, Jim. Megan? Kalina's a yes. Makes it unanimous for those that are here. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Did you
Yes, yes, we voted
They
yes.
said yes, yes,
Oh,
yes.
sorry.
I just kind of mumbled their names. Yes.
Good night, Jim.
Brian.